Buddy, it's not over
All
yet.
right. So you promised me. I hear you've been telling everybody you made me a deal I couldn't refuse on the event in Vegas, and you're right, Juanito. I got to give it to you. I think you used the Jedi mind trick on me, but because it's getting pretty.
I wanted you to consider the alternatives. Okay, this was a reasonable expectation on my part.
I got to tell you, that's not your best impression. I thought you were having a stroke.
Yeah, right. Well,
Juanito,
there's plenty of
look,
people
man.
who would probably like to see that happen. Yeah.
No, hell no, man. You're a national treasure, my man. Juanito, all right, so here we are, man. Save Act didn't pass. And we've discussed this on my show with you, and I kind of expected this. Obviously, more extreme measures need to be taken, correct?
Well, you cannot go through with the 2026 election under the circumstances where you have fraudulent primaries. With the way that things are breaking in multiple states, California's not the only one, where there's all sorts of anomalous activity. If you're going to proceed without rectifying some of these problems, that would be a repeat of things that have already happened, and that got us in this situation. So you got one shot at dealing with this, and as I've told your audience numerous times and others, I believe the only way to solve this is you're going to have a pause. Several years ago, I was on a call with a number of very serious players in the political arena, and was on a conference call, and we've been on it, a bunch of attorneys like that, for several hours. And at a certain point, I said, well, I think you're going to have to pause the election before it's all over with, and military's going to have to step in. And my friend that was in the room with me, and we're in his law office on this elevated floor and on, and he hits the freaking mute button. He goes, dude, these are serious players. You cannot talk shit like that. I'll never live this down. Don't say another word. So Jen's laughing in the background because she knew. So it's absolutely, you just have to understand. I mean, this call, probably real number, was costing various people somewhere around $15,000 an hour. And we've been on it for several hours with all the attorneys involved. And it was dead silent. The longest silence, I mean,
uncomfortable silence,
30, 45 seconds. Absolutely dead silent. My friend is just like, he's just rubbing his eyes. He's looking at the ceiling. He's like, so embarrassed. and then the senior attorney, a person that most people here in this room would know the name of instantly, breaks the silence, and he says, it probably will shock everybody else on this call, Juan, but I believe you're exactly correct, and I agree with you, and applaud you for at least bringing out the elephant in the room.
Beautiful.
And after that, my friend is just like, I cannot believe this. He's agreeing with you seriously on this. And somebody talks to the president pretty regularly. And, they were just shocked. Now, this was years ago, talking about what was coming up. And
coming in 2026.
Yeah. So the reason I say that is because it's not as unbelievable as it might sound. It's never happened like this before, but the threat against America is not anything like it's ever been before. And let me point out again, something that I pointed out to audiences before. Trump said at least 2 times now, but probably several, but 2 that you can go search on the internet, in spite of YouTube and everybody else. And he has said 2 specific times that I'm aware of, and there's probably others. I was 45, 46, although I don't really want to admit that, and 47 now. What an absolutely audacious, over the top, completely insane statement is that to most Americans, let alone in a military environment and other stuff, or, given the side eye. What did he just say? How could he make such an audacious statement? But within a very rarefied area of military command, he never relinquished his authority, and that's nuclear and beyond. Now, the reason I say that is because that's how serious the situation is. There's things going on in plain sight that are hard to get your mind around. If you're, somebody mentioned they're bringing their daughter to the event there in Vegas in a couple of days that you're emceeing, and said, the daughter just, she doesn't want to hear any scary stuff. She doesn't want to she wants to be able to sleep at night. She doesn't want to, she's got kids to raise and all that. She's coming to enjoy the movie, Dark Horse, which we're showing the first night, and hear some of that, but she doesn't really know that she wants to hear the rest of it.
So she could go on another day.
She could go on another day. Here's the thing. For most people, it's a bridge too far. They just don't have the bandwidth to hear, I was 46, but I really don't want to, admit it. It stretches their mind. It causes them to have to do mental gymnastics. I don't want to have to worry about nuclear. I don't care anything. I just want to be able to get gas in the gas tank. Now, here's the reason I mentioned that.
Oh, there! Look what Alex just brought up. There it is. Yeah. Then, yep. Good job, Alex.
Okay. So here's what the problem is. You have a huge component of our population that does not want to be bothered with the details. They want somebody that talks the way they want them to talk, that's smooth, that pats them on the wrist, and comforts them on their way. And to me, that's sort of like, I had somebody, we were dealing with a very serious medical situation just a short while ago. And the medical people wanted this person to go through a standard treatment, cancer thing, of, hold their hand, come in, get the goop, get the radiation, get all the other stuff, and they're going to die. And so they're making them feel good while they're giving them everything that's going to make them go through so much misery. And I asked the person before they got too far along, I says, they're going to make you, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be gripping, and they're not going to save your life. Are you sure you don't want to try a different alternative? Because their chances of winning at this point and putting you through out misery. And the person actually had an honest conversation with their doctor and really wrestled through it. And the doctor says, well, real numbers, most people in your condition don't make it, even with the way we're going to do the treatment. And she did some research and came up with a number and realized, they say about 90% die, about 10% can make it. That's not very good odds. And she wanted to talk to somebody that had made it after going through the treatment. They couldn't provide anybody. They're just so miserable. They die of other stuff along the way. But think about it. Societally, you got a bunch of politicians that are, no, this is going to work. It's going to be fine. I had the bond crisis thing 2 months ago, and we looked at the situation on the bond market, and it's literally a lethal bullet headed for the U.S. economy and the world's economy. I mean, there's almost no way out of it. Look at what's just now happening with the fuel crisis. A bunch of freaking bricks. A brick at least knows how to hit a window and break it. Okay, these guys don't even know what they're doing. They've shut off the refinery, the Vallejo refinery. It's being shut down permanently, going away forever, dismantled. And other refineries, they have no replacement in mind. And within the mentality of the politicians involved, oh, people will just drive less. Oh, people will just take our new monorail from our new high-speed train from San Francisco to LA. And, they'll just work it out. They'll get on the internet more. They're going to shut down the ability to travel in California with the
Jeez.
way that they're treating the refineries. There's some of us that, it'd be painful, but we just pay the price and whatever. I remember this, by the way, in the late 70s, in the gas crisis in the 70s. And I was with a friend who was very, very wealthy. And he had a Lincoln Mark V and he had a Caddy and all that, but the Lincoln Mark V is what I preferred. And so I had to get gas. And he says, hey, look, everybody else, they're going to feel this. I mean, they're going to feel it bad. Me, I don't really care. It's the cheapest part of owning a car, pay for the gas. Gas could be $10 a gallon. And back then it was like, under $1.
Jeez.
I remember.
Well, let me jump to some more.
Well, let me just add this one thing real quick, and I know you got to go. The reality is, California is about to get an absolute wake-up call internally, but the rest of the country is going to feel it very, very severely. California, if it was a country, not a state, would be the 10th largest country economically on planet Earth.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about
is Texas is California ahead of Texas on that?
Yes, on the economy, economically. Wow. Okay. And the reason that that's important, Nino, and everybody here has to take a deep breath and think about what I'm saying. It's a tail wagging the dog type of a situation. The politics has gone completely off the map, and it's favoring involvement with Chinese businesses, banking, all sorts of things. And China's, and we'll talk about it in the back channel, I won't say it here, in a very key position within what Tulsi's going to be releasing here shortly. There's reverberations that will hit the rest of the country that will make California and California politicians and the financial stuff, including the bond fraud, especially in the school districts, make them a pariah to the rest of the country and to the world. A lot of what's about to hit us starts in California, not the East Coast. And that's actually a gift. This storm, weather moves from west to east in the U.S., with much of it rising out of Asia, where I'm at right now. So you have to kind of be ready to brace yourself. And the reverberations are going to go on for quite a while. There's a military component where what's about to happen in California has ramifications for even our ability to defend ourselves militarily with what they're doing with the energy supply. And you have to wonder who was in cahoots with who to bring this on. And remember the huge banking crisis in 2008. Where did it actually start? It started with energy pricing when fuel doubled in cost for vehicles, and all of a sudden businesses couldn't run. And California and the politicians in California have just set America up for a huge fuel crisis. They did this in Europe. Germany shut down the nuclear plant that was only a few months old, best state of the art in the world. Everybody promised them they were going to get gas out of Russia, oil out of Russia, everything else. And then it got shut down. Germany is in deep, deep, deep shit over a similar issue. It's all over the world. They're trying to shut you down the energy that hits the financial and cripple America.
Let me bring in John Bolton here and get your opinion on this. Former Trump advisor John Bolton agrees to plead guilty to retaining classified information. So John Bolton, who previously served as national security advisor to President Donald Trump, has agreed to plead guilty to retaining classified information after leaving office. Bolton faces a sentence of up to 60 months in jail. That sounds very light to me, Juanito. And a fine of $2.25 million. What are we looking at here, Juanito?
Well, on top of everything else, he published what he did. He attacked President Trump directly. And it wasn't a benign thing. He did that in order to attack in a treasonous, traitorous way, the way that President Trump was administering. And he used classified papers to do that. And he also shared them with other people that were not authorized to see it. So a statement is being made here. As far as I'm concerned, he's getting off light. The really, really, really short way, you have to remember this, because people have already forgotten. When Iran shot down a drone, it was actually two, not a little tiny baby drone, a drone about the size of a short body 737, a commercial airplane, big monster thing. I mean, these things, they do all sorts of. Iran shot it down. They'd actually shot another one down. They faked the other one that was missing crashed into Mount Shasta. A complete bullshit story. So they could account for it. And Bolton and others came to the president and said, you have got to act and do something to show Iran they can't get away with this. Well, from a globalista standpoint, trying to start a war, there was all sorts of questions. Was Trump being set up? Trump finally agrees to go ahead and set everything up. The National Security Advisor Bolton, he gets it all put together. Everybody ends up in the Oval Office weeks later in the afternoon because it's midnight in Iran. And they're going to go ahead. Trump has said, don't do anything till I approve it, but get everything ready to go. They get everything ready to go. They got the planes running on the carrier decks, the missiles all locked in. Everything's ready to attack Iran and make them pay for taking down this drone. And then as Trump gets the order on his desk, he pulls his pen out of the drawer. He's about to sign this order to attack. He stops and he asks a question of one of the generals. He says, how much was that drone, by the way? And he says, about $30 million. Okay. And he says, and how many people are we going to kill here right now? Because I said I wanted minimum casualties at all, but especially civilian. And they said, well, we think about 100. About 100 people are going to die in this attack. And he's thinking about it for a second, and then another general pipe, 200 max. It could go as high as 200. But we've tried everything to minimize it and all that. Trump's like, are we going to kill the, a janitor in the aspirin factory type of thing, something that happened in Iran or Iraq. And so he thinks about it for a second or two, and he says, $30 million. Well, it's really 60, sir. And replacement's another $5 million each. Okay. So it's $70 million, whatever. We're a big country. We can afford it. I think we got to find another way. And one Iranian life is worth more than $30 million. I think we stop. He puts his pen in the drawer and he doesn't do anything. Now, Bolton's in the room. Bolton's the one that set up everything. Got everybody working together. Bomb Iran. This is going to be Trump's Vietnam moment. Once he does this, it'll never stop. The war's on, and they're just licking their chops. And when Trump did that, it so embarrassed Bolton. Plus, it exposed all of the connections within the Pentagon.
Jeez.
All of the spy people, all of the connections, by the way, into Israel and other places that so many people are wound up about right now. It exposed it, and then Trump started rooting a lot of these people out. and cutting them off from things. The groups that were anti-Trump up to that point in time, they were about to get their war that they wanted. Trump doesn't want to start a war. He wants to end the wars. And so Bolton took papers and kept them because he wanted to put those papers into a book and to other people to go to war with Trump. And so that was the context.
Blah, blah, blah. I won't get into that here, but I will say that the cheat is real and it's in your face in California. Mail-in drops have completely taken Spencer Pratt basically out of the race now. It looks like he's not going to even have a chance. And the cheat is just live and in your face, and everybody's watching this in real time. Juan, Sheila, thank you for joining me. Is this a good thing? I mean, in the grand spectrum of things, is this kind of a good thing that we're able to see this in real time? Everyone's watching this. Everyone knows California is dirty. They know that there's been cheating everywhere. I mean, it's kind of good that it's getting exposed, right?
Well, let me dive in first. It's not good that cheating is happening. Nobody's happy about the fact that there's cheating. The reality is that because nothing has changed, in fact, the cheating has become more exponentially more blatant. The inaction by the courts and other legal entities have encouraged and solidified the resolve of the cheaters across the country. It's not just California. If you look at what happened in Texas, Virginia, Utah, other places, the fix is in all across the country. But what it also does is the public is paying attention more so than ever, and they are understanding the details. We've been educating them for quite some time. And so the pissed off factor has gone up more than exponentially over the last many weeks through this primary process. And it's laying the groundwork for what President Trump will have to do, which is to declare a national security emergency regarding elections.
Okay,
and that's not to be confused. By the way, let's not confuse that with an executive order or a policing action. A national security emergency is something where the military has to be invoked. And in this case, due to foreign interference in the election, which you don't answer with a judge in a court. You don't answer with a policing action. You have to protect the civil rights of Americans from attack by foreign sources from outside the United States, and that requires the military. And that's the difference between a national security action and an executive order, which I think many people just haven't been able to make that stretch. But imagine, just like the governor in Colorado ignored the federal pardon given to Tina Peters by President Trump and said that the federal government didn't have any space there, and they ignored the 107th executive order.
I can see this. I can see this getting ugly, Juanito. It's going to get ugly.
Well, I think it's already ugly. It's just going to go to blossom, go to bloom. So, and it is, which is what's needed. People need to see what's actually going on right, in front of them, and that there's nothing you can do short of some type of executive action, but in this case, not an executive order. Instead, declaring a national security emergency. Exactly as in the 17-page executive order proposal that we had for President Trump, that you have to start that executive order.
You said Tulsi Gabbard is going to come out, is going to leave with a bang, not a whimper. It would be June. So we are in June now. How do you see this escalating? Both, this is a question for you and Sheila. How do you see the trajectory of this starting now? I mean, it looks like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. I mean, so what kind of escalation will we see? If you could read the tea leaves just right, what do you see happening here?
Well, you have disclosures that Tulsi's going to give concerning China's direct interference in U.S. elections. 2020, it's not over yet.
Oh boy. Sheila, and your thoughts on this? Let Sheila chime in for a sec.
Oh, that darn mute button.
Oh, so you have to get off the mute, Sheila. There you go.
Yeah, you can't find it. There it is.
I think we're in a beautiful place. And I know people are going to go, what do you mean we're in a beautiful place? When Karen Bass's assistant now is, and she and her assistant are getting 5,000 and 10,000 extra ballots a day. And I said, it's wonderful. And they go, why is it wonderful? I said, are we going to wake up? We, the people, they work for us. Those candidates, we should be working on charactered people to be candidates. You want to be upset at this point? I mean, nobody was upset with the primary ballot in California. There were 61 candidates for governor. 61 candidates for governor. What are you supposed to do with that? We're not talking with each other. We're not uniting together. We're not working on candidates that have character. We've got our military people offering because they will follow the Constitution and make sure that our states get back to the Constitution. And we're not even trying to find candidates. Are we really ready to have a republic? Everybody just wants to blame, well, why isn't this fixed yet? And if Trump already knew all of this, why didn't he fix it in the first term? Are we still there? We're not progressing. We're not learning. I think this is beautiful what's happening.
I see. That's why I say that, Sheila. I say this is the exposing at its finest.
Yeah, but we aren't doing anything. It's exposing who we are, not just who they are. It's exposing who we are. If you want a republic, it's of, by, and for the people. And
oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
We don't have a monarchy. So you keep wanting Trump to fix it? And you want Hegseth to do more and Rubio to do more, and you want all these people to do more, and why isn't all the fraud handled, and why aren't the Somalis deported? And guys, this has so permeated our entire existence and life in this country. And the other countries were sending missionaries since the 1980s that I'm aware of, trying to tell us you're in bad shape, and we're in worse shape. And now we know how bad the shape is. I'll give you one example.
Let me hold on. Let me short stop you there a little bit, Sheila. Here's the problem. The system, the machine, has been captured by enemy forces. These are invaders that have come in and taken over our home. Okay, armed invaders, by the way. And in collusion with, people inside the family, if you will. So I don't want to blame the American people where they've been attacked by enemies. The reality is, yes, many were lulled asleep and didn't really understand what was taking place. But that's why I mentioned, and you weren't on the air, Sheila, but I've mentioned this over and over. The crisis, especially in California, is about to go orbital. And it relates to energy because the politicians in California kissing ass up to their globalista buddies and partners have decided to shut off the oil refining capability in most of California. Throttle it back super hard, which actually is going to affect the entire West Coast. So California refineries, they're too dirty, but we're going to go ahead and let the oil come in from other neighboring states and get trucked in, and all the money expense to truck it in. Gasoline. Gasoline doesn't go through pipelines really nicely, so most of it will get trucked in. And it's going to be a son of a gun because fuel prices in California could literally double from here. $10 a gallon gas, that might actually be low. And other nearby states are going to feel the pressure immensely. What that's going to do where people fret about the vote, but it's kind of a in the club type of a thing. The people who are all stressed out about a fraudulent vote tend to already be awake, aware, politically paying attention. And that's why they're pissed off. But that's not the vast majority of Americans or people on the West Coast, especially. I've got somebody who's bringing their daughter to the event there in Vegas here in a week and a half. And the daughter said, I want to watch the movie. We have Jim Caviezel's new movie there, Dark Horse, world premiere. She wants to watch that, but she doesn't want to see any of the scary stuff afterwards. She doesn't want to attend the rest of the conference and get scared.
Who is this person? Who is this person? Is she 12?
No, this is the daughter who has adult or kids. She's an adult and has kids, and she's coming with her mom just to go to Vegas, watch the movie, the Caviezel movie. But Nino, think about it. How many people do you know, even people within your listenership, that are pretty sharp, but they really don't want to get bogged down in the election details? It's complex. You don't understand it. It sounds like a bunch of people ranting. I have no control. I'm just wondering.
I'm just wondering, how is this going to hit the mainstream? I mean, okay, we could do a lot with the podcasters, our little niche group here. We could do a lot. Not going to say we can't, but how does this shit come out with Tulsi? Like, does she have an official press conference on Fox, on CNN, when she says, okay, 2020 was stolen, now we got to do something about it? Like, how does this lead to a national emergency? Well,
but wait a second. Tulsi has already said that 2020 is the stolen election. She said it all.
No one's paying attention.
A year ago. That's my point, Nino. That's what I was saying. What will trigger the average people like this daughter coming to the movie, who doesn't want to get scared by all this shit? When fuel prices in California are $10 a gallon.
But they're going to blame Iran. They're going to blame Trump and Iran.
You can't pay for the gas. You can't heat the house.
Trump and Iran. That's what they're going to blame. They're going to blame Trump and his war with Iran. That's what they're going to blame. Not
okay. But Nino, that's not exactly how it'll break out. Trump didn't close the fuel refineries. This isn't an oil availability issue. This is the Green Club in California, in high office, from the governor on down, who decided, the legislature and everybody else, to put the restrictions on the refineries so high that they'd have to pay to make fuel. And they're not going to go out of business. They're not going to break the corporate budget. So they're just walking away from California. And here's the problem. There's nobody else going to step in and produce fuel for all the cars in California. And there's nobody else going to be able to restart the refineries once they shut them down. Vallejo refinery will not just restart. It's not an instant thing. In fact, I have meetings scheduled with some of the folks there that are in management, the folks. And this is not something that's going to get fixed overnight. This is already on its way. It's a national security issue because our military also requires that the fuel from the refineries. Trump may very well have to step in and declare a national emergency related to the energy crisis in California, starting with fuels, and have to take over the refining process in California. That's pretty serious stuff. But at the moment, the average person in California, school teacher, doctor, dock worker, taxi, Uber driver, most of them are apolitical. They don't even pay attention. And they don't, they like, Karen Bass, the mayor of California. They like some of the liberal policies. They like everything for free. But these politicians have voted them into a corner. And if you remember, the 2008 gas crisis led to the 2008 banking crisis. We had fuel prices that nearly doubled, and it triggered a recession that almost turned into a full-blown collapse across the country of real estate prices. And President Bush had to come out and say if we hadn't acted within 24 hours, the world's financial markets would have collapsed irreparably. So they stepped in and printed money and threw it everywhere. The fuel crisis triggered the 2008 recession. The fuel crisis in California is going to trigger a West Coast, not just California recession. California's politicians are about to become a pariah to the rest of the country. And a lot of people that were sort of liberal leaning and they wanted everything, when fuel reaches 10 plus bucks a barrel or a gallon, and you can't get it, you probably are going to have to go to odd and even days or something, potentially some kind of bizarre over the top thing. It's a big deal, and Californians will be paying attention, and so will the other states neighboring. When that happens, people that didn't really pay attention to elections and who got in office and what they did when they got there, a little bit of graft isn't the worst thing in the world. They may be Al Capone, but they're my Al Capone. Okay, and I like having drinks in the speakeasy. I just hope they don't kill, my neighbor or myself with all their loose bullets going everywhere. Well, all of a sudden, it's going to get very personal, and energy is the starting place. Think about that. How, and you can't blame it on oil crisis from Iran. Why? Because it's not an oil crisis. It's not a supply crisis for oil. It's politicians kissing up to their globalist buddies and shutting down the refineries in California because they're not green enough, and driving the prices so high that the companies run them are like, okay, we're done. We're out of here. And they've had lots of months, long months to rethink this, and they haven't rethought it. So the start of vote fraud attacks in California is actually going to start with an energy crisis. That's my opinion.
So California is in a shitstorm right now. Sheila, what's your thoughts?
I thought the president signed the War Powers Act.
Hasn't solved the problem yet, and getting resistance. And by the way, he has to exercise those authorities. He hasn't ordered anything yet. So, and when he does take action, which he will, the pushback from politicians in California is going to show whose side everybody's on. And part of that War Powers Act is also going to be to make sure that the military is covered first. They've already started to shut down the refineries. That's all well on its way. So thinking that, and again, everybody's thumbing their nose at Trump within the presidency. So you're going to have a real battle here, and hearts and minds type of thing. This is far from over.
Well, and people may not realize out in California, they capped off more than 200 rigs before this year. Ruined families, ruined businesses, ruined. Because you mentioned something, Juan, about when this happens down in Venezuela and what is going to happen, even though they're saying Chevron and Enron are going to go in and do it. It's like priming the pump. I grew up with ground wells on our farm, and you have to do a lot to get it pumping back up again. And I don't know, you mentioned about oil rigs, and I don't know if people know those details. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So when those prices get to where they are, it's not going to change quickly. But part of why the prices are so high is because of closing off all these rigs.
Yeah, it's not an oil supply crisis that's the main event here in California or the West Coast. Most of the well issues for pumping from the wells that were smaller or not as green as they wanted, that all occurred already all the way back under Biden stuff and all that. And you don't turn an oil well on like a spigot on your hose on the house. If you lose capillary action, you can damage the well. You have to redrill it, cap it off, repressurize it, redrill it. So this is strictly really at this point in time a refinery processing issue. We can get oil from lots of places and get it to refineries. It's all the other chemicals that go into, making oil into gas that you can use in your car and your boats and all sorts of other stuff. And again, ultimately, how does it get to the vote? Let me switch lanes for a second. The way that 2020 was engineered related to COVID, what would COVID have to do with the vote? It seems completely disconnected. But the voting processes were affected because of this, concocted fake disease, really SARS-2, common flu. It was used to manipulate the way that elections were conducted and drop boxes and everything else, and got other leadership into place that was not the will of the American people. And so they were frauded over COVID. I'm telling you right now that the current vote situation is very susceptible because people that got into office through the election fraud kissed up to their globalist buddies, kissed up to other politicians that were already sold out, and they've shut down and put in process to shut down the refineries in California. And there was lots of warning. There was lots of conversations from the refineries. And they've been there for, over 100 years, walking away. You're talking about shoving the other ones. It doesn't matter if you put in more powers. Unless you force the company to run those wells, they're already walking away. And you're not going to get a bunch of military kids to restart them. This is a very complex thing. The momentum is already underway. And when the voters realize what's been done to them by people that got into high office, and especially when they understand that it's through fraud, they're going to have a different attitude towards those people and will be paying attention to the fraud in the vote. I believe it's going to affect how people look at the vote when they realize the consequences. Fraudulent elections have consequences.
So Juan, what's the objective here with the globalists? Are they trying to just take down California, hoping that the country will follow?
I believe that they initially had Hillary won. They were going to have a financial collapse, reconstitute what we use as trading media, money, whatever you want to call it, and reset the country, reset the world. They didn't get that. They're trying to play catch up, and part of that catch up is to try to make Trump look as bad as possible, etc. But they did some wonky things that they can't unravel, including trying to look really green for their green revolution buddies. So with that in mind, they got some things in play that have been worked on for several years. All of a sudden, be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. Well, they got it. And now you're going to send, and they thought they could strong arm these oil companies and force them, that the oil companies would have to stay to make a buck. And they just said, you know what? There's not enough in it for us. We're out of here. And, being good businessmen, they weren't about to pay to make oil or hope that, it gets sorted out under Trump. They're just walking away. And so California, what's coming, that ship's already left the dock. And they're in deep shit, and you're not going to wind this back when the people in California and the neighboring states start seeing the pressure from this energy situation. I think it's going to bring people back to the concern about elections. And with the information that Tulsi's going to release, yes, she'll have press conferences, she'll release stuff, but it'll be in such bulk, Nino. I said this several times. I need you and your audience to listen to me. It will take long weeks and even months for all of the people, you guys listening, to get in there and start dissecting what's in that paperwork. And by the time they get done, they'll have enough information, along with stuff like the conference that I'm doing here in Vegas in a week and a half and similar, where enough people will understand how the vote's being rigged with exacting precision and how the courts are failing to act and how the politicians have left us exposed, that it will cause a revolution. And
so the party is just getting started, man. This is just
getting started.
This is
we're in a category 2 storm right now. Before it's over, it'll be a category 6.
Sheila, so you do a lot of research on this. And you have very good insight here, and I don't want to leave you out of this conversation. What's your thoughts on how the trajectory goes here? I'm looking at a lot of Juan, I talked to you about this as well. Bolton goes down. Comey looks like he's going down. Looks like they're singing like canaries, they're making
that
deals.
Arrogant ass Comey. What an arrogant ass. Go ahead.
Okay. So, obviously there's things happening, but it's happening too slow for a lot of people that aren't really paying attention to what's going on behind the scenes. Sheila, maybe you could take it from here. I see a lot of stuff like Trump cleaning, like little symbology, little things, and I don't think they're so little. I think they're pretty big, like cleaning the memorial pool, right? Like Juan, you said, Washington, D.C. is full of symbology, and that represents cleaning the swamp to making it the reflective pool now, a beautiful pool. And then also there's talk about him leaving the UFC stadium up, which is absurd to me if it's true. That just seems like a problem in itself to keep it up and act, stable with weather and all that stuff. I know how these things are done. It just seems crazy to me. Sheila, take it from here. What's your thoughts on all this? Where do you see all this going? And do you believe this is symbology for what is coming?
We have, we've shifted our focus, and this is I even have one whole chapter on monarch mentality in book 4, and that came out in 2019. We've shifted our whole focus about federal. I think one of the biggest things we can do as a favor to everybody is quit asking, when is Trump going to do this? When is Tulsi Gabbard going to release things?
Well, he only has a couple of years to go.
The what?
He only has a couple of years to go. He's got 2.5 years now. That's it.
No, but it's not about that. It's about us. We changed our whole focus that federal was our answer. Federal was never the answer. If we look at the Constitution, they were only supposed to go to DC. Number one, they were supposed to own property or a business or both to even be a candidate. We've totally lost track of that. They're only supposed to represent the state, and they all became international globalists. We've completely let that go too. We let them go into a full-time job with pensions, whether they're one term or not. We let them go from 2 terms. It was never a midterm election. It was always a federal election. Their terms were 2 years. That was even in the 70s. It was still 2 years when people had 14 and 16 terms, but they were only 2 years apiece. So now it's that for 4-year terms at the same time. We let all of this happen with the focus of the federal, and we've completely dismissed the focus of the state. So if they don't own any land and they don't own a business and they're up there running our business, and we're wondering where all this fraud comes from, and that's why I'm so excited about this fraud summit coming up, because the reality of this is we, the people over the generations, have allowed all of this. And we want somebody else to be responsible. And we want somebody in DC to be responsible. DC was never supposed to be full-time. They were never supposed to be pensions. They weren't supposed to own multiple houses. And we've been talking all the time about them earning a certain amount of money, and yet now they're all multimillionaires. And that's even those who applied for the position in different states, like an AOC. We haven't stayed on top of the ball. And that's what I was bringing up before, is that we want everything to be different. But what are we asking Father to direct us in each day to show us what we can do? That was the example I was going to give. When I was at Doug Billings in June of 23, I said, I'm so close to Springfield, I want to go see the Knights of Pythias Castle that I was invited to back in 2019 because I didn't realize the significance of it. Does anyone want to go? Because I don't want to go to the castle by myself. And so a bunch of people followed me. We had a car caravan going up there. And one person is from Wisconsin, and that person said, well, at least it's in Missouri. It's not in Wisconsin. And I said, well, when you get home, look up what's in Wisconsin. The castle in Wisconsin was less than 3.4 miles from her house. Okay. So now she was talking to me about Nick that's doing, Nick Shirley, I think it is. It's doing all this fraud in Minnesota, and now he's gone to California. So I said, it would be interesting to see what you've got in Wisconsin. So she did a check this week and wrote to me, and she copied Nick on it. She's tagging him on it. And she said, did you know that there are 13 daycare, learning centers, and adult health centers within 1 mile on one road next to her home?
Jeez. Wow.
We the people, and this is what I been trying to focus people on the whole time. Father sent us here, and I sent you the newsletter. I don't know, but the man who I met a decade ago is a Cherokee chief in Oklahoma. And he was so shocked at what I was revealing, and he only had the first book. Within 24 hours, he put his wife and his sister in the car, and they were at the event in Kansas City for the First Nations. And he was being honored. What are the chances a decade later I'm invited to their meeting in Kansas City and he's being honored? And when I surprised him with the whole book series, he was in shock because he was calling his mapper every 10 to 15 minutes. Mapper is a guy that understands your area, where you're from, your historical, your lineages, everything within each of the tribes. And so I was sharing things in the first book that shocked them. And so he kept calling his mapper, and he said, you've always surprised me. I have a surprise for you. And I sent you the newsletter with the picture, and I can send you the picture. He wore a wampum, W-A-M-P-U-M belt. And I know some of you have already written to me and said, Sheila, there's a wampum belt and it means double-mindedness. What does that mean? Well, they communicated with the wampum belt because they weren't sharing anything, because they've been here since the 600 BC timeframe. They've been communicating with each other in these wampum belts, and they wear them like a vestment would be worn as a pastor around their neck. And the one he happened to wear was the original Bible. Now, there's several different ones. I called him this last week and I said, sir, I can't find the original Bible. I'm finding double-mindedness. I'm finding time to go to war. I'm finding all these different meanings for wampum belt. And he goes, you're going to find all sorts of versions of it. But the gift of the one about the Bible is that it's that direct, it's that specific, and it's exactly what I've been saying for years. We got to get tight with the Father. We got to get in unity with each other. We've got to make sure that we're understanding we came from heaven to make it on earth like it is in heaven as a gift to this world. And we forget that. And we came with gifts that we can help other people with in order to get that job done. And we've let that go too, because of silent majority, all of this has happened. So my focus has been, if you want things to change, what are you willing to ask the Father to show you your part in this about making that change?
All right. So my I guess what I'm trying to get from my audience is what is going to be, and Juan, maybe you can understand this. I understand it has to come from the people. A lot of people are frustrated, but they're like, well, what do you expect us to take to the streets? Juan, what is going to be the process here with Tulsi Gabbard coming out about 2020 And as this goes into a national security emergency, what is the process here? How does this look in June, July, August, September, October, especially with the cheat happening in real time in California? I mean, it's all there. The makings of the pie, all the ingredients are there. What else needs to happen? Juanito, are you there? Or did you fall asleep?
I don't see him there.
No, I don't see him there either. Do you want to continue this from here?
We keep wanting to know what's going to happen when. People keep asking the same questions. When is the currency going to change? They want to be prepared for something. And the whole thing is, if you don't have that relationship, when it becomes a 6-level storm, and that's what Juan's been warning people about. He's been warning people how long? From the very beginning. There's going to be a crisis that's going to come that you're not going to be prepared for. And the only one who knows the end from the beginning is the Father. And that's why I keep saying, if you get tight with the Father, people who have now been listening to me since the early 2000s are now just starting to realize and recoup on that. They go, I didn't understand it at first, and I didn't know I could have a personal relationship, and I didn't know I could hear answers, and I didn't know I could be guided. I've told you guys, even when I can't find something, I say, well, I've got to have this by this time, and I'm out of ideas as to where it is, and I'm given where it is. The promptings, you can't do it yourself. And that's where we are. We've done all of this in our own human mind.
Yeah, but
and
people
that's why they say the enemy's playbook can't change because they only have human understanding. They don't have anything beyond
So I get it. I get what you're saying. My problem is, but without proper leadership and the direction, people are just going to sit at home frustrated. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to coordinate, get together, and do what?
Because they're trying to do it out of human wisdom and human understanding.
Trying to go on the streets like the protesters and get rowdy and get crazy. I mean, what happens?
That's a waste of time.
Okay, so it has to come from Trump. It has to have there has to be some direction here, is what I'm saying. There has to be executive order.
What are we going to do? Let's say that Tulsi Gabbard released everything today. What are we going to do? It has nothing to do with our daily lives.
It needs to hit the mainstream media. It needs to hit the consciousness of the people. Everyone, even the Democrats, the liberals, have got to know what happened because they're in denial still.
But the denial isn't the problem. The lack of action of the people is the problem. And it's not civil war, and it's not insurrection, and it's not sedition. The games they're playing are the same games they've always played.
I understand that, but there still needs to be something done with Trump and the administration. Like, in other words, how does he declare this national security emergency? That's what I'm trying to get to here. What information comes out to where the people will be behind it and say, you know what? Yep, that's a good idea. Let's go. I think that's the
you just answered it. That's the information that's coming out.
But what I'm saying is, besides the little niche groups of podcasters that this comes out on, how does it hit? It needs to come out with a bang, as Juan has said. Tulsi's going to leave with a bang, not a whimper. Well, I haven't seen anything yet. It's June. What is it? June 6th or 5th, whatever it is.
She's not going to release it till the end of June.
Okay, so that's when we can expect something explosive, Sheila?
So do we sit back and not do anything until the end of June? That's the difference I'm trying to explain. So
what do people do, Sheila? They get out on the corners of the streets and they march, or what?
No, you don't go to humans to find the answer on how to get through the storm. That's what I've been explaining. Humans don't have the answers. The intervention of the Father could happen by June 15 or June 30. But everything is leading up to, they're already telling you what's unfolding. She's already telling you when she's leaving. They're already telling you that the information is going to be released and declassified before she leaves. All of that's known. But you and I can't do anything about it. Neither can anybody listening to this. This is what I'm trying to say. The focus has to change away from federal. They made it, everything happens at federal. And they have us worried and in fear and in doubt and unbelief. Those are the tactics of the enemy about what the federal is doing. That's not our focus. They programmed us to be all in conversation about that. It's all a waste of our personal time because there is a plan. The plan cannot be completely defined to the public openly in conversation because the enemy is everywhere. If you look, and people kept saying there's no arrest, that's why, and now they're saying, well, now you're putting out a lot of FBI information on your Twitter page and you're putting this out and this out. I'm trying to show you the arrests of people that take years of investigation to find somebody who is bilking the prices of seniors on pharmaceuticals and who was doing it and who their boss was that connected them with it. And you've got to have the whole train and line of all of these people involved in this crime. That's why our court system is supposed to have does 1 through 99. And if you look at the Durham accounts, almost everything that has the indictments of Hillary has at least 99 names. I mean, it's just,
that's
this
crazy,
stuff is so extensive, so thorough. And now imagine they've had time to go in and mess up all of those cases. And so people are wondering, well, why is it taking time? President's been in there. He's done more. And you guys have already talked about this. He's done more in such a short period of time than any other president in history. He's cleaned up more stuff than any other president in history. And Washington, D.C. is an example for what's going to happen in all the cities across the country because we're done with all this.
Yeah, but we're ready. People are ready. You know, people are ready for this to pop. Like it's time. And I think
but they want someone else to do it. That's the problem, Nino.
I think what's happening.
When is Trump going to do this? When's Cash Patel
going to? He's the president. It's in his power to do this. Well, we're waiting. No. We're waiting for the military to step in like we've been promised.
Military is okay. Let me explain. Military is the only way.
No, it's pretty easy, Sheila.
That's
I mean,
not
this is what people has been waiting for, and it looks like
it's already happening. He activated him on June 14, 24. Wasn't it 24?
I'm talking
or was it
military
25?
on the streets. I'm talking, what I think is that what I see coming here.
That's not where it's going to happen, Nino. They're not going to be marching the streets and bringing tanks down the streets.
I think they'll be protecting
what's
the voter
happening
polls,
is military is the
polls.
only way because insurrection, sedition, which you better look at the definitions because people are writing to me about them getting involved in re-inhabiting counties and states and et cetera. Guys, that's sedition and insurrection. You better be looking up what the criminal penalties are for that because anybody involved in that. But military justice is different. And the military is already involved. The military is already doing
People want to see tribunals. People want to see, these people getting dragged out of their fucking houses and arrested and sent to prison.
That's how we were treated. That's not how we treat people.
Okay, well, I treat my enemies the same way they treat me.
Military justice. All of these announcements from FBI, and I've heard at least 15 different operations that Cash has given updates on just in the past couple of days. And every one of them has a different title. And you're not going to be knowing what ICE is going to be doing. You're not going to be knowing where the military is and what they're doing with people because a lot of what ICE is picking up is turning over to the military because military justice handles anyone operating in insurrection or sedition in our country against legal citizens. And so they're still parroting out all of these illegal citizens. I mean, we were going to talk about the election stuff in the first hour today. And since we didn't, I don't know if you guys got a chance to mention, this is how severe our situation is with voting and IDs. Did you know that there was an EB-5 program and the HB 1 through 5 program for tech people? They came into our country and were given permanent residence cards, green cards, in order to be here.
Unbelievable.
And when they bought businesses through EB-5, they paid $250,000 for husband, wife, and children under 18. Then they paid $500,000 for children over 18. And then they paid $1 million to bring the aunts and uncles in. That was a chain migration president's been telling us about. So when all of that happened, all these people got green cards. Did you know that I found out on an interview about 2 months ago, and I've been working on it ever since. And one of the guys is married to someone from the Philippines. He's crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's for her to become a citizen. And someone said, why don't you just take the easy way? And he said, well, what's that? He said, you go to the post office, turn in a green card with a passport application and a passport photo, and you can get an American passport. So then I put it out on social media, and people said, oh my goodness, the post office is fraudulent and corrupt. It's not the post office. They're merely mailing in the package as a courtesy to have a drop-off place. So you provide the information to the post office, it gets mailed in. When it gets mailed back, it goes to you. The problem is our Secretary of State that is issuing those passports. Why are they issuing passports when these people have not gone through the process to become a citizen in America?
Yeah.
And where's the vetting on any of these people? Because they got these green cards by paying money to immigration. That money was paid to immigration after buying a business in America. So that's why all these hotels went into franchising. And then all of these people, a lot of them are from China that have certain hotel chains that we've mentioned before. And they go in and buy one franchise in one town, get to bring their whole family here.
What?
You all right, Sheila?
Yeah, Juan just came on and someone was saying something to him.
Oh, Juan, are you there? I don't know.
It had Juan's name and now it's gone.
Yeah, I don't know if he fell asleep. It's late as hell in Thailand, so
Yeah.
I don't know what time it is over there right now, probably like 3 or something. But so I guess we can continue this at a later time. I know you have to hit the road as well, right, Sheila?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
Juan, you still around? I think he passed out, man. I don't know. But folks, I'll continue this at a later time. But yeah, we'll get ready for a part 2. You up for?
He's waiting for you.
Yep, I'm right here, there, Brian.
Oh, did
Okay,
you pass out, Juanito?
I did for a second.
I knew it. Well, it's late over there.
That's I don't know. It's about 2:30 in the morning, I think, for me here.
Yeah, why don't you get some rest, man? We could continue this another time.
All right, sounds good, bro.
Yeah, man. I don't want to, all right, folks, I did my best. Part 1 is here. We'll do part 2. You guys good for part 2?
Yeah.
Sheila, you good for part 2?
Oh, she's snoring.
Now she's snoring.
Her head's on the mute
Wow,
button.
this is just, okay. All right, folks. All right, so I'm going to end it right here. All right, folks, I'll get a part 2 up for everybody. I promise.